Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Sounds of the Diaspora, Artist to Artist, a conversation with yours truly, Dion Parson. Man, I'm really excited about tonight's guest, someone that I've known for many, many years. When I first got to New York in 1990, 91, I think we met around that time, and he had just came to New York also. So we kind of watched each other's career grow and flourished and had the opportunity to play great music together. He's an educator, saxophonist, composer, and arranger, and he does other things as well that we'll get into during our conversation. Please join me in welcoming the one and only Mr. Antonio Hart.
Hey, brother. How you doing?
I am well, man. How you doing today, bro?
Man, another day to be better, so I'm happy.
Yes, sir. Good to see you, man. It's been a while.
It's been a long time, man. Besides seeing you on these podcasts,
I know.
But
I know.
I'm really, really, really proud of you, man, and what you're doing over there for your home and just continuing the music. It's beautiful.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's been a journey, and I'm enjoying it. I miss New York. Living in the islands is not New York City, but this helps me to stay connected with all my friends and colleagues. But it's also a good thing for the community as well, enriching the community with quality music and jazz, and infusing it within the community, and just being a solid educator too. I'm enjoying that as well. Yeah.
That's part of the responsibility. We've been given so much by the masters.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's our time to give back.
There you go. There you go.
Mhm.
There you go. And speaking of giving back, man, you have, as an educator, a mentor, you've been doing so many things, man. I want to go back to, your upbringing, growing up in Baltimore, and how did you get into the music and some of the influences that you had?
Sure. Well, early on, I had a love for music, and I had an uncle that introduced me to jazz. I didn't know that's what it was at that time. I just thought it was my uncle's music. And but going through school, I went to some sketchy schools from elementary to junior high, and it was really not a great educational environment. And I had a hard time with school, but through the blessings of the Creator, I was accepted into the Performing Arts High School, which was new at that time.
Mhm.
And it was like night and day. You had teachers that were on you, you had facilities, you had materials,
Right.
and it was a special school that you had to audition to get into. But I thought that should be what school should be. It shouldn't be like a special school like that. I thought everybody should have that opportunity. And we were held at a high caliber of how we represented ourselves, and we were taught to be professionals very early, and that changed my life. That was probably the greatest blessing, one of the greatest blessings that I ever had, to attend the Baltimore School for the Arts.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And from that, so you got introduced to the saxophone while attending that school?
No, I did elementary school, junior high. Do the bands and everything like that,
Right.
but I never had a teacher. So, it's funny story. So my ninth grade year in junior high, they cut out all the music and art in Baltimore in the public
Wow.
schools. So for me, that was the only reason to go to school, to be totally honest, because I wouldn't learn anything. I just wanted to play the horn, but I was going to be miserable that year. And a friend of mine, I don't know how he did. His name's Tim Melvin. I'll never forget his name. He got me an audition at the School for the Arts. So they called me and said, we wanted you to come in on this Monday or something like that. And, I was on the phone with him. I don't know what to do. I've never done an audition. So we went through this book. It's called the Universal Method book. It's a famous book for saxophonists. And I learned this one piece, Hungarian Dance number 5. So on 2 hours on the phone with him, right? So my mom and stepfather took me down to the school, and I go into this room. 3 people are there. And they said, well, play what you have, play some scales. I can play some scales. And they said, well, play what you have prepared. I said, I prepared a Hungarian Dance number 5. So I played it, but there was one measure I kept on messing up. I kept on messing up the rhythm. And later, my teacher, Dr. Chris Ford, he pointed to the measure and said, well, play that for me. And I kept on messing it up. He said, are you reading? I said, I think I am. He said, well, how did you learn this? I said, I learned it on the phone the other day. So at that point, I just knew I wasn't getting in, right? and to my surprise, man, they accepted me, and it was challenging because academically, I was not prepared to be there. I mean, I actually had to go to summer school a couple times. There was times where they thought I was talented musically, but they thought academically I might have to go somewhere else. And I was like, nah, this is not happening. You know, got on my knees and prayed and just really hit it. I said, there's no way in the world I'm going back to what I left.
Right.
You know, with bullet holes in their heads and fighting every day. I was like, I'm not going back to that environment. You know, I want to be here. So I just put in the work, and gradually I developed a work ethic, and I did enough to grow academically and prepare myself for college. Not that I was great, because my SAT score sucked, but it was enough for me to get into school. And I had, like I said, I had a work ethic, and I was trained to be a professional. So actually, by the time I got to Berklee College of Music, Berklee was easy compared to high school, believe it or not. You know, even though when I got there, I wasn't trained with jazz. I was trained as a classical saxophonist. My 4 years at the School for the Arts, we were playing classical repertoire. So I knew about the Now's the Time or something like that. My man was Grover Washington Jr. So when I got to Berklee, I was at the bottom of the heap. I mean, literally the lowest ensembles. That was me, everything. But I just said, I said, okay, this is where I'm going to start, but this is not where I'm going to end. And I would just follow the upperclassmen at that time. You had Javon Jackson, Mark Gross, you had Sam Newsom, you had all these guys that were like upperclassmen, and I would just follow them around, just watch them. I was a new kid. I didn't care who came in with me. And then, I had to work like most of us, but I would practice, man, like 10, 12 hours a day. I would wake up at 2:00 in the morning, practice, go to work, and do this every day. And anything my teachers told me to do, my first teacher is, Bill Pierce. Anything he told me to do, I did. And I had questions, I was listening and just totally engaged because I wanted it. I wanted it so bad. And through that time I was there, because I was a music ed major, because I didn't think I was going to have a career, bro, to be honest, because I started so late. These guys were coming in playing, I would go to jam sessions, they changed the keys on me and laughing at me, and kid. And so I say, well, I can still be in the music as a music teacher, and being the first in my family to go to the higher level of education, I said, let me follow this all the way through and maybe pursue a PhD in music, go back to Baltimore, be a music teacher, and have a family. And I said, maybe one day somebody might allow me to play on one of their records. Right. And, that was a win. It was a win. But again, the creator had another plan for me. And that's when I met Roy Hargrove and so many others at the college. And Roy invited me to join his band and do his first recording. And that was the beginning of everything. And that happened like actually in my senior year. I was doing my student teaching. And Roy got signed to his deal and took off. And then shortly thereafter, I got signed to my deal. And then, then it just took off. So from Berklee, I got my degree and I went straight to New York. That's when you met me in 1991 to go to grad school. And that's when I met my mentor, Jimmy Heath. So, and it was difficult because we were on the road all the time, man. We, during that time we were hot. So I would go to class, take my lessons, be in the big band, fly to Japan, write a big band arrangement while everybody's partying and having a good time, writing papers for Professor Donald Byrd. And, it was the whirlwind of things going on. So I did complete my master's, and that's when everything, changed. I was looking at schools. I was looking at NYU and Columbia for the PhD program, but I got so busy with performing. I said, well, I can't do that, because they don't want you on the road when you're doing all that work that you have to do. So I put that back burn, and then it's just been 30 plus years of an incredible up and down career, brother.
Yeah. Well, that's great, man. It's so much of what you said I didn't know, like your upbringing in Baltimore and stuff. That's why I wanted to talk about it. But when I met you, you were like the consummate professional, man. You was always on top of things, very professional, very organized. And it impressed me. It actually influenced me also. And I had this conversation with Mark Rose, and your name came up about it. And we talked about, just having that etiquette, that work ethic in place, and being professional, because most of the cats on the scene at the time when I got to New York, it was about the hang. You know, everybody was like, you did your gig and then you found the hang, and it was just a jam session till like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the morning. I mean, we would be coming home when the sun was up. And at that time, like you was going to grad school, I was going to grad school also. The difference was I left grad school. I did
Yeah.
finish 20 years later, but I left grad school. So, but yeah, man, it's really hard to be on the road, and the scene has changed a lot, and you know that. But you guys lived on the road. We lived on the road. We'll be on the road for like 10 months
Yeah.
out of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
don't really exist anymore.
Yeah. Economically, the world has changed.
Yeah.
You know, it was a beautiful time, man.
Mhm.
It was a hard time for me too, man, because, you know, when I came to New York out of college, that was my name, College Boy. Everybody called me College Boy, because, you know, when we came in 91, there was a generation right above us of young guys that had been in New York for like 10 plus years. And, you know, they kind of got overlooked, some of them, because we would get these record contracts. So it bred a lot of bitterness amongst those guys and some of the masters that felt like they were overlooked, you know. And we never claimed like we were playing the stuff, or we were the stuff. We were just in the right place at the right time, you know. So it was really those first couple of years, man, for me were actually miserable, because I had read all these books about Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie jam sessions all night long, hanging out and practicing. And I came to New York like, come on, guys, let's do this. The cats were like, man, nah, Roy, fire him, hire me. You know, I mean, literally that happened. So I built this wall around me for protection, but inside I was like, man, I just want to be a part of this thing. But I had to get my New York armor on, you know to say.
You definitely need that. Yeah, you definitely need.
Yeah. You know, we've seen a lot of cats come that were great where they came from, and they came to New York. It wasn't that they weren't great musicians, but mentally they couldn't handle the mind games. And I think that's when they say, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. And that's true, because you have to have a certain kind of tenacity and strength to bypass all the stuff that comes at you, good and bad.
And it's going to come at you all the time. And, you know, you could show up for something and there'll be another cat there just waiting, just like, okay, he's 5 minutes late. I got this, you know. It's like that all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to be. So when you talk about being serious and like that, it was a time where it was like self-preservation for me, man. It's like I couldn't be hanging and doing like this. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I was just like making sure that I was on point with everything, because I didn't, honestly, I had this low self-esteem, didn't think I belonged there. If I'm being totally honest, I didn't, I saw these cats like my brother McBride and Roy and all these great cats. And I was like, wow, how am I here with these guys? I don't feel like I'm on the same level with these guys. But that's my mental. I deserve to be there. That's why I was there. And I understand that now. So it took a long time to have that confidence. And thank God I had people like Master Heath and James Moody and some other people that embraced me and showed me my worth. And told me to believe in myself when I had a lot of naysayers, man. And I realized, that's a lot of that was jealousy. It was just had nothing to do with me. But I'm from that school. Like, I want us all to get along, bro. I want to love everybody. And you realize energy. Life is energy. There's sometimes you meet somebody, nothing happened, but you just don't connect, and that's an energy thing. And so I realized that too. But those first couple years, man, where with record contracts traveling the world, you would think that we were like flying high. At least for me, I was just like trying to contain, like make sure I can do the gig, make sure I show up on time, make sure I learn people's music, make sure I don't make any waves with anybody.
It was an intense time, man. And again, you mentioned like a lot of cats being overlooked, and I think that created some animosity in the scene. And when we came to town, we were looked as like the young lions, and we were out there doing all of this stuff. And I was in the Harlem scene with Mark Harry and Ron and all that, and you and Greg and Dwayne Burno were roommates. In Brooklyn, and it was the whole thing. And then we would collaborate and come together. It was a good time, but like you said, we had to grow up fast. We had to learn the streets. We had to learn, how to read people. It was a lot of lessons to be learned, and just learn how to maneuver through the business as well too. And a lot of that don't exist anymore at all. It's really a
Yeah.
different, yeah.
Yeah, man. I wish I could get out there more now living up here. And I made a choice to move up here to kind of get away from some of the noise. But I do hear some very fine young musicians. And but I think I need to step out there a little bit more to be the mentor to Master Heath and those guys with me, because it's we're the last generation that has that connection to the masters. To be totally honest, man, you know, I can say I played with Dizzy Gillespie, I played with Max Roach, I played with Art Blakey and all this stuff. Not the name drop. I played with these cats and recorded with these guys. So there's a connection where I know them as a human being sitting on the bus with Jimmy Cobb and watching movies and Nat Adderley, where I'm not talking about reading about it in the book. I'm talking about being on tour with these guys, you know, and I wish they would ask. They don't ask questions.
Yeah. I mean, we were lucky to be part of that, like the whole Bradley scene and all of that. I mean, you just sit in Bradley's one night and everybody would come through there and you would learn so much. And cats would sit and talk to you, good or bad. They would just sit and talk to you and be real too. That's the one thing that I respected about that time. People were real in what they shared with you, especially about your playing. And they were just, hey man, you need to work on this. You sound good, but you need to work on that. And it wasn't about patting you on the back or anything like that. It was like, hey, if you're going to be here and you're going to constantly be coming around, you got to get this in place so you could be better. And that type of mentorship don't exist anymore.
I remember a Bradley story, man, as you brought it up. I tell the story. It was one of my two Bradley stories. I had one gig down there and George Coleman came down on my gig, pulled out his horn and said, Cherokee and B. And I was like, yeah. It is my gig.
right, exactly.
But once I did it, it was cool. I didn't kill it, but I could get through it. And he was like, he gave me respect. But this one night, man, I never forget, at the end of the bar, where the piano was in the bar, Ray Bryant would sit right there at the edge of the bar all the time. And then back there was George Coleman and Bill Saxton. The table right in front of me was Elvin Jones and Betty Carter. And by the telephone, he always sat by the telephone. Cecil Taylor was sitting by the telephone, and Betty Carter and Elvin Jones sat in with Greg was playing drums. They both sat in with us, and Betty Carter gave me a ride home to Brooklyn, right? And you talking about the mentorship, and she was like, "Yeah, you got to play this horn with others." And she was like, "You gotta play like you love it," And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." I was like, "Yes, ma'am." And I was in Paris playing, and Betty Carter came with Jackie Terrence and sat on my gig. It's like once you built that rapport and that respect, they kind of pulled you in, and those are those lessons, man, that I don't think the young guys are getting. And it's unfortunate a lot of those guys aren't around anymore, and but we're here, and we're connected to that, and the ones that want it, it's an open door. It's an open door.
Right. I mean, speaking of Betty Carter, I mean, she was an institution in herself. I mean, Betty was known for, mentoring rhythm sections. Like all the cast came through her. Winard, Louis Nash, K. Wash, I mean, like I'm talking about just drummers, but there's a whole group of cats that just all came through Betty Carter. I was one of them. I didn't last that long, but that's a whole nother story. But a similar thing, she would just pull you aside and she would just relate playing the instrument to life. And it was about love and compassion and emotion and expression. It was all of those things. It was never really about the academics of it. It was always about life. How do you express yourself through your instrument? That was the real thing. That's really what it was about. And like you say, it's up to us to kind of carry that along. Like Art Blakey was noted for horn sections. He the whole band, like everybody that came through, every messenger was successful moving forward. And those AT, Arthur Taylor's Wailers. I mean, there were so many bands that existed. We don't have that luxury anymore of going out and hearing a band. It's like, the industry is like looking at one person. Who's the next cat that we can push? And then we'll just surround them with a bunch of cats that can help them be good and sell records and then move on to the next cat. That's kind of how I feel the industry is operating right now. But I really miss bands, man. going to Sweet Basil between Christmas and New Year's, that was like the messenger time. Everybody was there. That don't exist anymore.
That's why I play with Art Blakey at Sweet Basil. Yeah, you're correct, man. This is the band culture has changed. The whole industry has changed. And, you know, I don't think we were trying to be famous. You know, we just wanted to play and to be accepted by the masters. For me, I wanted Master Heath to look at me and go, yeah, or James Moody go, yeah. That for me, that was it, you know. And doing a recording has changed, because I remember the first time we did Roy's record going into RCA Studios, that was a big deal. It was like, you're doing a recording, you know what I mean? You know, and hearing it for the first time on WBGO, but now everybody can make that. The recording is more like a calling card now for gigs. And then not only do you need a recording, you need to have a bunch of followers on Facebook and Instagram to get the gig, you know, as a guarantee. So things have definitely changed. Not that recordings aren't special, because I think there are documentations of where you are at that particular point. And it's important to do that if you get that opportunity. But it was definitely different to get you wanted to get a call from Art Blakey. You wanted to get a call like when Keiko called me to join Elvin Jones or Nat Adderley. You know, it was like now I'm going to school. You know, now it's time to go to school. And it's true, man, because when I did my recording for Cannonball Adderley and Woody Shaw, I hired people that played with both of those guys, right? So I'm sitting in the studio with Papa Nat, and I thought I really studied that Cannonball music. I thought I really knew it. And then there was certain notes that were cut off short, longer, little dynamic changes. I was like, wait a minute, right? And then I went back and listened to the recordings again. I was like, oh, I didn't catch that. But you don't catch it until you're like right in the room with those people, you know? And you know, and that's when I really learned about the importance of playing with people live. And the recordings are important, but you have to hear that stuff live. Just like we said at Bradley's, man, you sitting there, you're hearing Kenny Barron, you're hearing all the players that played there, you know, Ray Drummond, and I mean, just Mogu Miller, all the piano players that played there, man. And, you know, it wasn't about playing. It was just going there and being a student of the music and feeling the spirit that came from what they did, you know, and seeing, you know, looking back, the energy that was in that club, man. I think when Bradley's closed, New York changed dramatically. That was like, for me, that was the last kind of nail on New York. And the Vanguard is great. The Blue Note, all those places are great. But everybody, as we know, everybody came to Bradley's after they finished their gig for that 1 a.m. set. So everybody that was in New York was at Bradley's. And it was something that you can't even, you know, describe to people if you weren't there.
I mean, as you mentioned something about, you know, the elders just kind of, you know, honing you. You know, there was a word that I was introduced to when I got to New York called apprenticeship. And a lot of the older cats talk about, you know, when we saw young musicians coming along, we said, okay, they should work with this cat for 2 years and get this together. Then they can go over here and do this. And by the time it was time for recording, the musicians was the one that was kind of dictating who was going to be the next cat, not the industry. It was, you know, it's flipped now, you know, and I really enjoyed that. Like, you know, just hanging with cats like Arthur Taylor and even Elvin. I got to know Elvin very well. And I spent a lot of years studying with Michael Carvin and being a mentor with him as well. And that brought a whole nother level of education, not academically, just life. I mean, and that's just part of it. And traveling and playing with master drummers like Babatunde Olatunji, bringing a whole nother level and connecting the dots, you know, through the history and the lineage of the music. That's a major part of it, man. We could go on and on and on, bro. Half of the questions that I have for you, we haven't even touched. I really wanted to talk about briefly, man. Just talk about your Element Wind Sun component. How you've incorporated martial arts into your musicianship.
That was something that I wanted to study my entire life. My mom wouldn't let me do it because I was very accident prone, man. Believe it or not, I broke my arms like 3 times when I was a kid. Like, but stupid stuff, falling out of trees and, you know, playing outside. But
Right.
I just unfortunately broke bones. So my mom was like, "There's no way in the world you riding a skateboard. You're not doing it because I'm tired of going to the hospital." I remember the last time I broke my wrist. My mom was just in the chair like. I'm like, it's not that bad. So when I got to Berkeley, man, I was away from home, and I said, this is something else that I want to do. So I started studying martial arts, and I started studying Shaolin Kung Fu. It was a long fist and white crane, which is more of a northern Shaolin form. And but still I was there for school, for music.
Right.
So it was just something else that I did. And then when I got to New York, sporadically, when I had time, I had this dream. It was weird. I had this dream that Bruce Lee was at the corner of my bed and he was doing all this hand stuff. Like, and I'm just sitting in the bed watching him, and I'm watching him. And then I saw this book one day, and the guy was doing the same hand patterns that I saw in Bruce Lee. And I was like, I saw Bruce Lee doing, I said, oh, and it was called Wing Chun.
Wing Chun,
so, yeah. So I started researching Wing Chun schools in New York. And long story short, I went to several schools. I spent many years off and on with different schools, but I found my real school where I felt my real Sifu Alex Richter took me on as a private student after I told him about a bad experience I had at a prior school. And through his patience and tutelage, I was able to, after many years, get to a level where I finally got a title of Sifu, which means instructor. And it was a hard journey, man, because I had all this muscle memory from all the years of doing it in other places. Even though Wing Chun is Wing Chun, every school has their way of teaching it. And I had to like retrain my mind. I had to have a lot of failing moments. I had a lot of moments where I thought, what am I wasting my time for? I should quit. I mean, the whole gamut. Right. And because Wing Chun challenged me in a way that music didn't anymore. I had a certain level of comfort in music, even though it challenges me. It kicks my butt all the time. But Wing Chun made me look inside myself in another way, and to humble myself, and to say, like, I'm a teacher. I've been doing this. I'm an expert teacher without ego. I've had enough time to do this as a music teacher. But in terms of Wing Chun, I had to start over as the beginner. I had to, as they say in Eastern philosophy, I had to empty my cup so things could come in. Right. So it challenged me in another way. It humbled me, and it allowed me to see life in a different way, and know that the battle wasn't me against my classmates or this thing. It was a battle within me to grow. So within all that noise that was coming at me all these years, I just had this thing. Don't worry about this journey. Enjoy this journey. The destination will happen. And it happened. I got my instructor's title, but Element Wing Chun is in Harrington Park, New Jersey. And it was started by my brother, Barry Cooper, who's actually a trombonist who played with Basie's band. He's actually at West Point now. And he's an entrepreneur, and he created that school because he wanted a place to practice instead of going into the city to the headquarters. And he wanted to teach and grow, because that's how you grow. You teach. So because I moved out here where I live now, it was more convenient for me to go to Element Wing Chun and study there. And through studying, I said, man, I can help you out with the school. So I started helping observing him teaching classes to the point where I was teaching classes. And then I went for my certification to be an actual instructor. And then we decided to, graciously, he allowed me to become partners with him in the school. And now that's my other life. I'm there 4 or 5 times a week, training and growing and helping to pass along again the passion that I have for this art. And as I've been very fortunate with studying martial arts, and I used my music to get me to China. I played at the White House for President Obama at the time, and it was they were showing like an American culture, so they used jazz, and it was for the Chinese delegation. So I was playing with Herbie Hancock, Dan Reeves, I think Dee Dee Bridgewater, me and Randy Brecker in the back, James Genius. Forgive me, guys, I forgot who else was there. It was a lot of people. So we got a chance to play, and through that, I started going to China, not like as an ambassador, but using that to get over there, using jazz. And I taught at these camps, man. I taught in Shanghai and all these camps. all these camps that had like 400 and 500 saxophone students. And I'm teaching these guys, you know, in a way, because they like Kenny G, they like Eric Marienthal, which is great. It's a certain style of music, but my thing was more traditional, obviously. Right. And so I did that for several years, but also I would use those trips to go to different places. So I went to Shaolin Temple, right. Which we've watched movies, all of us, right? We've all watched these Shaolin Temple movies, and like as kids on Saturday, and I was actually there, man, and I was invited by a monk. So I'm in the dorms of the monks. I'm in a private dining hall of the monks, just like the Kung Fu movies where they have the big burrow, they have a big wooden spoon, they put the stuff in your plate, and right, you can't talk, and the senior monks come in. I'm like, this is real. And I go up to the top of the mountain, man, and I wouldn't leave my horn in the hotel. I'm not doing that. And I played There'll Never Be Another You at the top of the mountain, man. I'm the only person that's ever done that. Wow. And, you know, so I went to Shaolin a couple of times. I went to Wudang Mountain. So, you know, Wu-Tang Clan and all that stuff. I actually went to Wudang Mountain and went to the temples and things like that. I went to Fushan, where my grandmaster lived. His name is Yip Man. Everybody knows Yip Man because they made a bunch of movies. And he's famous because he was Bruce Lee's Sifu. So right. I went to all these places, and then I went to Hong Kong. I got a chance to meet students that studied with him. I met his first student named Kwok Fu, who was 93. He died like 4 months after I met him. Wow. You know, I met Chan Chi Man, who was one of the early students who knew Bruce Lee when Bruce Lee was a kid. I'm in his house, and I'm looking at black and white pictures of him as a kid with the Grandmaster Yip Man and getting all his history. So it's the same thing, the same tradition. So it's, right. It's like a passion of mine. Of course, us being older, man, it's helping me keep fit, mentally fit, spiritually, and emotionally fit. It's an amazing art. It's a thinking man's art, and it's like music. I'm still a baby in it, but it's something that I really, really love, and I love coaching. I don't believe I'm a teacher, man. I don't believe in the word teaching because I can't teach anybody anything. I can lead you. I can coach you and say, try this and try that. And it's been the most humbling experience, again, to have a business. It's my first business with somebody like Barry is very experienced. He has other businesses that he's really good at. So I'm learning that. And then having that responsibility of actually having to show up and then be accountable, you know, and being an example for the students. So it's along with that, along with the music, at the college and playing, my life is really, really full. There's some other things I want to definitely include in my life, but right now, music and martial arts are. It's been a wonderful life, man, with its ups and downs.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. It's thanks for sharing that, man. I know we've talked about this offline, and I just really wanted our audience to kind of see how well-rounded you are and the things that have motivated you to be the type of human being you are, and I think is admirable, and I have a lot of respect, man, bro. Just so you know.
Back at you, brother. Back at you.
Appreciate it. And when I come up to New York in June, I told you I'm gonna come check you out because Tai Chi's been one of my things that I've been want to pursue. But we'll have that conversation another time. We're running out of time, bro.
I know. I talk too much, man. I'm sorry.
No, man, I'm trying to squeeze everything in, but it's just not enough time. But we have some music that I want to jump into, and let's just play the music, and we can try to talk about it when we can. But I really want to get these songs in. So the first song,
do it, Chappelle. Wrap it up.
Right. The first song you shared with us is from Across the Ocean, and let's play it, and then we'll talk about it after. I just want to get some of this music in there so our audience can hear the great stuff that you're doing. So let's check out From Across the Ocean. Hart. Yeah,
man.
bro. Nice 3/4 vibe, man. Who's on that recording?
Oh man, you asking me? Go back. I know the sheet. I know that's Darren Barrett.
Okay.
I honestly I forgot who's on that recording.
Mm.
But that's one of the early ones, man. I want to say it might have been Tassili Bond, and I'm not sure who was on the piano at that time. I'm at a loss, man. I'm sorry.
It's all
But
good.
that particular composition was written. I was just doing some study, and my man, one of my heroes, is Paul Robeson. So I was studying Paul Robeson and just studying some of the history that we didn't get in school. And that composition was really about middle passage. I was thinking about coming across the ocean. That's why you hear the African influence in the instruments and coming in and all that stuff. And it's just like what I visualized would be on that sea, what I would see if I was looking at the ship sailing and things like that. So that was the inspiration for that one.
Beautiful, beautiful. Enjoy that, man. Well, you got a lot of inspirational music here. So that was the middle passes, and you got Reflection of Woody. That's I enjoyed that one, man. That's a great song. That's for Woody Shaw, right?
The one and only.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's so many great trumpet players or trumpeters, how do you ever say it? And for me, he was one of the last great innovators of the instrument. And I hope nobody gets offended by me saying that. But like in terms of taking the message and the language to another level, Woody Shaw, along with Freddie Hubbard, Booker Little, and people like that, of course, he was the one that really inspired me still to this day.
Beautiful, beautiful. Let's check this out. Reflections of Woody. Yeah, definitely. That's Woody energy. I love it.
That was Slide Hampton, that's
Uh-huh.
Mo Guru, Ray
Okay.
Drummond. Yeah. Yeah, that was the cat. Okay, man. Earlier, that was Greg Hutchinson, Rodney Whitaker, and Aaron Graves.
Okay.
And the percussion at the end, that was
Mhm.
Kamadi Denizulu.
Dennis Zulu. Wow, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Maybe you made me go back.
Oh man, I wasn't throwing you on the spot. I was just, just vibing on
No, not for me, man. 'Cause people ask me, and I'm like, I don't remember, man.
it. That's great, man. Dennis Zulu. I just like to kind of follow up on who it is.
Most definitely, most definitely. I think it's important.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, man, let's keep going, man. The next one you have is about a flute, but you playing saxophone on it. That's
Yeah, I was
go ahead.
no, I was reading some philosophy books, and I'm trying to find out my place. I was baptized Christian. I kind of gravitate towards Buddhism
Mhm.
without claiming anything. As long as you're a good person,
Right.
that's where I stand. But I was reading this book, and the quote was, I'm a flute. I'm a hole in the flute that the Creator blows through."
Okay.
And I thought that was really powerful. That that I'm this thing, but the Creator blows through it. And I think that's what we try to do when we play music. At least what I try to do before I play, I say, let's get Antonio Hart out of the way, and open myself up so the Creator can use me as a filter to spread the message. So it just totally resonated to me.
Okay. Well, let's check it out. It's entitled "A Hole in the Flute" by Antonio Hart. All right, that's Antonio Hart's "A Hole in the Flute." Man, I love that journey, man. It goes from 7/4, then 4/4, then the solo is 7, then it ends on 4/4 with a this. That's a really nice journey.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, man. So when you composing, do you like write the melody first, or what's your inspiration of creating a song?
I mean, it changes a lot of times. Usually the melody comes to me first,
Okay.
but before that, just the inspiration. Like, what am I writing for?
Mhm.
I'll keep it really short. I studied composition with this teacher at NYU named Justin Della Gioia, and we were studying classical works. But I would bring in a composition. He said, "Man, you have like so many ideas in this one piece. You have like 7 different things that you haven't developed."
Mhm.
So it really changed the way I thought about composing, opposed to like writing a chordal structure and then putting something on top of it. I thought about the inspiration and why I wrote something and how it connected to this and making an actual statement, you know.
Mhm.
So it really messed me up because before I was writing all the time, then I couldn't write, you know, I couldn't write as fast anymore. But I think the music had more validity, more power, more meaning in
Mhm.
writing that way.
Okay, and it's important to have a concept, when you compose, because it leads you to other things. I'm struggling with that myself because I study composition not as in depth as someone like you, but that's one of my biggest things. Like, what do I do next? You hear all of these things, all of these ideas, but like you mentioned, you have 4 or 5 things going on at the same time. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
process.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's a process, definitely, definitely. Well, man, we have another composition here that you wrote for our brothers entitled Brother Nasheed, but our dear friend Nasheed Waits. And Yeah, so Nasheed has played with you for a while.
Man, when I started my band after Roy, Eric McPherson actually
Hmm.
introduced me to Nasheed, and he came over to my crib in Brooklyn, where I lived with Dwayne and Greg, and we played together. And he had it, and I was like, "Man, would you consider going on the road?" He's like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Right.
Graciously, because he had been on the road already. I think he was with Jackie Terrison and some other people, and his father, the great Freddie Waits. So, man, I feel like that's like the one of the I'm an only child, but that's the brother I never had because we kind of grew up together, and
Hmm.
I learned a lot from him. Being a New York guy,
Hmm.
because I always said New York guys got a different kind of edge,
Yeah.
and, so yeah, yeah. So those formative years, developing years, and the sheet was with me, and I'm so thankful for the years we've had together, and it just inspired this composition. I tried to capture his essence and his energy, and
Mhm.
we got a chance to play together last year out at uh, in the city. We did an outdoor concert, and it was so nice to play with him again and to hear his maturity and his growth, and just to have that connection with somebody that knew you back when.
Right,
I,
right.
I really, I really, really love that brother.
That's beautiful, beautiful. Likewise, likewise. Well, let's check out this composition that you wrote entitled Brother Nasheed. Yes, sir. That was Brother Nasheed. Love the energy, man. Love the energy.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, we almost out of time, but we're actually out of time. But I want to
Yeah.
squeeze one more. And you shared another song with us that it's a live concert from um, the International Jazz Day that you did in Australia, right?
Yes. Yes.
We're
Yes.
from- Yeah. So let's play this song and then we'll come back and talk about it. But I just want to jump into this. This is Mercy Street. Let's check it out.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Beautiful.
I can't believe I was there, man.
Bro. Beautiful,
Wow.
man. Great stuff, man. Great music, great stuff, man. You know, thank you. Thank you for sharing your music and your story and energy and philosophy with us. Really appreciate you, man. And I know it took us a while to get here, but I just want to personally thank you from our audience and from myself. And just wish you continued success and all the great things you're doing, bro.
Man, thank you for thinking about me. And I'm thankful, bro. So anytime you need me, just call me, brother. And we're
Will do.
so
Will do,
blessed.
man. Yes, sir. Thank you for a great show, man. And we'll be in touch. Like I said, I'll hit you up when I get to New York in June, and we'll go from there. Cool.
Sounds good, brother. Have a
All
blessed
right,
day.
man. Yes,
All
sir.
right.
You be safe, man. Thanks for the wonderful music. That was the great Antonio Hart hanging out with us tonight, and we had a good time with him, man. Come back and join us next week as we bring another amazing artist, another dear friend, Mr. Quentin Baxter, to Sounds of the Diaspora. Great drummer, composer, arranger, entrepreneur, likewise, and he's doing great things as well. So we really enjoy what we're doing here at Sounds of the Diaspora, and we do hope that you enjoy us as well. So we look forward to seeing you next week, where we will have some more great artists, music, and stories for you. Take care. Have a blessed evening. All the best.